I am a bell, cast in iron, buried underground, beneath a shipping yard they call the boneyard, where rusted containers stand like the rib cages of iron dinosaurs. I have been ringing for 100 years, one note, every midnight. A sound that travels through the soil and the concrete, through the rust and the roots and the cracks in the pavement. Adults cannot hear me. They've trained their ears to ignore the sounds that don't match the world they've agreed to believe in. A bell ringing underground. Impossible. Therefore, inaudible. But children hear me. Not all children. Only certain ones. The ones whose parents leave for work when the sky is still dark. The ones who know the sound of steel-toed boots on linoleum at 4 in the morning. The ones who have learned without anyone teaching them that the world runs on the labor of people whose names never appear in the headlines. The children of the graveyard shift. And on one night in October, 5 of them heard me at the same moment from 5 different parts of the city. A mechanic's son who could hear engines like music. A nurse's daughter who carried a first aid kit everywhere. A bus driver's son who had mapped every route in Oakland by age 9. A warehouse man's son who counted everything because counting is love. And a crane operator's daughter who arrived with a wrench in her back pocket and her grandmother's voice in her head. They got out of bed, put on their shoes, and walked toward the sound. The academy was waiting. They found me in the center of the boneyard, an iron plate set into the ground, engraved with a symbol none of them had ever seen. A bell inside a gear, inside a circle of hands. 5 handprints in the metal, 1 for each of them. Miles pressed first, the iron was warm. Esperanza pressed second. She felt a pulse. Quime pressed third. He felt a map unfolding in his mind. Jen pressed fourth. He said, "We're missing one." Then Aaliyah came. Boots 3 sizes too big. Wrench in her back pocket. She pressed the 5th handprint, and the plate began to turn. Beneath it, a staircase. Stone steps descending into amber light that smelled like machine oil and lavender and old books and something that felt like home. At the bottom, a door 12 feet high, made of iron so dark it was almost black, covered in engravings of people working. A woman operating a crane. A man bent over an engine. A nurse with her hand on a patient's wrist. A driver with passengers reflected in his mirror. A woman with a clipboard counting crates. Esperanza whispered, "Those are our parents." 5 hands pressed into 5 keyholes. The door opened, and the Graveyard Shift Academy revealed itself. A cavern of stone and steel, vast the way a cathedral is vast. 5 corridors branching from the hall, an engine, a cross, a compass, a ledger, a crane. 5 corridors, 5 symbols, 5 kids. Each one stepped into their corridor at the same moment, and the academy came alive. They came back every night, not because anyone told them to, because the academy was the first place where the things their parents did were treated not as blue-collar labor, but as craft, as skill, as knowledge so essential that someone had built a school underground to preserve it. Behind a locked door, they found a gallery, hundreds of photographs, generations of workers, and a charter written in ink that had darkened with age. We the workers of the night, the mechanics and the healers, the drivers and the clerks, the operators and the laborers, do establish this academy that our children may inherit not just our wages, but our wisdom. Then one night they descended, and the academy was dark. The amber light was gone, the corridors were sealed, the workshops were silent, and 5 children stood alone in the black. Aaliyah said, "Don't panic. This is a lesson." Esperanza said, "The academy wants to see what we do when the systems fail." They found each other in the dark, by sound, by touch, by the knowing that comes from weeks of shared experience. They made their way to the bell, and they rang it. The academy blazed to life, not amber, gold. And on the wall above the bell, new words appeared. No trade stands alone, no worker stands alone. You are not 5 students, you are one crew. You have passed the test. I rang at sunset instead of midnight. Not a summons, an invitation. Come, not because you have to, because you are ready. The hall was set for ceremony. On each bench lay a gift. For Miles, a wrench engraved. For the one who hears engines. For Esperanza, a stethoscope engraved with a single word: listen. For Kwame, a compass whose needle pointed not north but toward the nearest bus route. For Jim, a ledger, leather-bound and blank, for the one who counts what matters. And for Aaliyah, a key, iron shaped like a crane, for the one who lifts. Then the academy spoke, an old voice, preserved in the iron and the stone. We built this academy because the world does not teach what we know. It does not teach the dignity of hands that carry and repair and heal and navigate and count. It does not teach the courage of showing up at midnight and doing the work that keeps everything running. Go now, carry what we've given you. And when the world tells that what you're bearing still is ordinary, you tell the world that ordinary is just another word for essential, and essential is just another word for sacred. They climbed the staircase into the October night, 5 kids holding gifts from a school that existed beneath a city, that was at this very moment being kept alive by their parents. Aaliyah looked up at the cranes. Our father is up there right now, 200 feet above the dock, lifting containers through the dock. She said, "I'm gonna live the way my dad lives, not just containers, people, the stories, the names that nobody remembers. I'm gonna lift them up where everyone can see them. And somewhere beneath the ground, I am warming up, getting ready, preparing to send one clear, deep iron note through the earth, through the concrete, through the bricks and the rust in the bed, walk into the bones of 5 new children who will hear me and rise and walk through the night toward a door that opens only for the ones whose parents worked while the world slept. The graveyard shift academy is open. The bell is ringing. It always does.